Are we in China? Or perhaps a Chinatown in a city like Los Angeles, San Francisco, or Chicago? Nope, guess again. This is a place on the edge of the historic zone of the largest city in North America. A city full of life and energy. This place is located very close to one of the most beautiful and elegant museums in the Americas. This is a place full of color and interesting fusion foods. So join me as we explore Barrio Chino CDMX, as well as a very interesting surprise afterward. We start off at the Zocalo, which is basically Mexico City's main historic square, where I was lucky enough to experience a native cleansing in the last episode. So if you have not watched the last episode, it is definitely worth checking out. From here, I decided to head westward to make my way to Barrio Chino. For this, we have to walk many blocks along the main pedestrian walkway of the historical center to get to Avenida Juarez. Just to give you an idea of how long this pedestrian walkway is, the end of it is at the tower that we see in the distance. This roughly 7 to 8 block walkway is full of life and businesses of many types. Finally, after walking a few blocks, we reach Torre Latino, where the pedestrian walkway transitions into a regular street. Built almost 70 years ago, this tower was essentially Mexico City's first skyscraper and was supposedly the first skyscraper to be built in a very seismic zone. Here, we pass by one of the most famous museums in the Americas as we leave the walkway and transition onto Avenida Juarez. This stunning, massive museum deserves its own episode in the future. We push forward to Barrio Chino, which is about 2 blocks away, diagonally across the museum and in front of Park Alameda Central, which is supposedly one of the oldest public parks in the Americas still in operation. We finally arrived to Chinatown CDMX, or Barrio Chino as they call it. Story has it that this place came about roughly over a century ago when efforts were made to populate the country, especially in the north, by inviting immigrants from Europe and Asia, many of whom eventually made it down to the capital. At this point, I was quite hungry, and I did notice some places selling what seemed to be a fusion of Chinese and Mexican food, so I decided to check it out. I happened to find these Chinese-style buns with a Mexican flair to it, so I decided to buy a few and take them with me so I could have them in a nearby coffee shop. We're going down an alley where I discovered a coffee shop not too long ago. Actually, one of my first videos. Actually, to be correct, it was my first video. And so I'm revisiting almost out of nostalgia, and the place was beautiful too. I think you guys will like it, for those of you who have not seen the video. Called La Ilusión Café. Beautiful place. A very hidden spot away from a lot of the foot traffic. And in this beautiful coffee shop, I purchased a coffee and enjoy it with the buns I had bought earlier. After barely scratching the surface, I decide to move on because time is short and there is a very special surprise that I want to show you because I think you will really like this place. To get to the surprise, we have to get back on Avenida Juarez and head westward away from the historical zone. And of course, on the way, we run into many other things, such as Mexico City's famous tour buses, as well as other monuments, such as this one in front of Park Alameda, dedicated to former President Juarez. Or more performers, like what we saw in the pedestrian walkway, like this one that is playing what seems to be Incan music. The surprise is one of the most iconic historic monuments in CDMX that you can see in front of us just a few blocks away. The cool thing is you can actually go to the top of this monument to enjoy some of the best views that there is of the city. To get there from here, we first have to cross Paseo Reforma, which is essentially the Champs-Élysées of Mexico. This prestigious boulevard has experienced a skyscraper boom in the recent decades, giving it a much more impressive look. The number of skyscrapers that you see in the various skylines of Mexico City is quite impressive, considering that this is one of the most seismic cities globally. After crossing Paseo Reforma, we walk a few quick blocks to Plaza de la República, where you find the monument to the revolution. Built in the early 1900s, this monument is considered to be one of the tallest memorial arches in the world. Not only is this structure a beautiful piece of architecture, but it also offers splendid views of the Reforma skyline through its arches, and even better views from the top, as we are about to find out. To get to the top, we have to enter from the other side, which is the western side. And as we enter, one of the first things we see is a sign showing the price, as well as a general layout and different levels of this monument. So we push forward to purchase the ticket to the top. However, before going up the elevator, I have to follow a yellow line through a souvenir store and into a museum that shows the history of the monument that is quite interesting.
Alright guys, we gotta follow these yellow lines to get to the elevator. Hopefully I don't fall and break my neck.
This is quite interesting, I have to say. This thing was constructed very well for its time. You can tell it's super reinforced for the seismic activity in the city. I have to give them a lot of credit.
One of the first things we see in this museum is a timeline explaining how this structure was designed by a French architect, and also how even though construction started in the early 1900s, it took a few decades to complete because of disruptions like the Mexican Revolution. This diagram goes more in depth on the stair and elevator system of this structure, which is something you will see when we go to the top. We even run into someone giving a verbal explanation on the history of this structure. And we finish off this museum with more pictures, diagrams, and even a model. And now it was time to leave this small museum and continue along the yellow line to find the elevator, because at this point I'm very excited to see what the views from the top look like.
Now we're ready to finally go in the elevator. And it's starting to rain. Oh well.
The elevator only brings us to the base of the dome, but of course we will go to the top with stairs. And though it seems counterintuitive, we first have to go down a little bit from this point before going to the top to enjoy the 360-degree view.
Alright, let's go down stairs. This is pretty cool, guys. Again, what a wonderfully constructed monument for its time. Very strong. Look at these views you get from the city up here. We're actually kind of looking northwest right now. And that's north over there.
So let's walk outside around the base of the dome to get some preliminary views along with an explanation of what we're seeing.
Guys, this is what we call the mirador, or a viewpoint. We're looking east. And now we're on the north side of the monument, basically looking towards the north side of the city, which is definitely the more industrial side of the city. That's why you don't see as many high-rises. You see a few. All right, let's continue now. We're looking straight west. Let's go see the western side and the southern side, which is the most impressive side. Cool thing is they even have little cafes as you're walking through these passing points. ¿Cómo estás?
Buenas tardes.
Now this is the good view right here. Looking directly west, of course south towards Reforma or Paseo Reforma, which is basically the Champs-Élysées of Latin America. And if you look straight ahead, you can see Santa Fe barely. Only some of it, because there's a lot of high-rises, and of course because it's raining, a lot of it is kind of covered. That's like Mexico City's other downtown.
One last look before we go to the top to check out the even more amazing 360-degree view.
We're going to go up these stairs to the very, very top, the peak of this structure.
To get to the top, we first have to take these spiral stairs which go vertically along the base of the dome between the inner and outer layer of the structure. Once we reach the part where the curvature of the dome begins, we utilize more diagonal stairs to get to the top. At this point, we're almost to the top of the spiral stairs alongside the vertical base of the dome.
You get to see the curvature of inside the dome from here, guys. Look at this. All right, guys, we're almost at the top, and right here, we go up these final steps and what looks like to be the door that takes you pretty much to the top. All right, let's do this. Climbing on top of the top part of the dome. These are pretty vertical steps, I gotta say.
The time has finally come to climb up this last stretch to get on top of the dome of one of the most iconic structures in Mexico City to enjoy stunning 360-degree views of this magnificent city.
Time to leave now. Apparently we exit in a different direction, so let's see how exiting this structure looks like versus what it was when we were entering. Apparently we gotta first go down these stairs. Quite interesting. I love these views. I don't think I've ever been inside a dome and stairs. The closest thing that I've been to this was the Arch in St. Louis. But of course, in that you go in a train that has little capsules, which nevertheless is quite interesting. And it's
When I get to the bottom, I happen to see a reporter doing an interview. And with that, we say goodbye to this beautiful monument dedicated to their revolution. Stay tuned for the next episode as we continue on and walk on one of the most beautifully planned and unique streets in the world. This bustling, colorful boulevard was modeled after the great boulevards of Europe and was even originally named after an empress. Not to mention that it essentially serves as the gateway to what is supposedly the only true castle in the Americas. This iconic street has a lot to see and a lot to do, and I feel like it is one of the biggest hidden gems globally. And to top it off, we finish off in one of the most affluent parts of the city, where we run into what I consider to be one of the most unique looking museums in the world. So the next episode is one you don't want to miss.